His lips tasted of whiskey and 5 years of unspoken regret. Before my brain could even process what was happening, his mouth was on €. A soft, fleeting pressure that sent an electric jolt through my entire system, short-circuiting every defense I had so carefully constructed. I froze, my hands hovering uselessly in the air, caught between the instinct to shove him away and the desperate urge to pull him closer. And then, just as quickly as it began, it was over. He pulled back, a ghost of a crooked smile playing on his lips, his eyes half-lidded and hazy. "There," he murmured, his voice a low, husky rumble that vibrated through my chest. "Now we're even." My mind went completely blank. Even for what? He leaned back against the plush leather of his sofa, a look of lazy satisfaction on his face. "For senior year," he clarified, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "When you kissed me, or, well, tried to." The floor dropped out from under me. That night had been a blur of cheap vodka and mortifying courage, but I had no memory of that. All I remembered was the sting of his gentle rejection, the shame that followed me for half a decade. To think I had actually tried to kiss him, the thought made me want to dissolve into the floor. He had stolen my breath, dredged up a memory I didn't even know I had, and now he was looking at me as if he just won a game I hadn't even been aware we were playing. 5 years. Farter Eurostrade how long it had been. 5 years since Eurostrade last seen Dominic in person. 5 years since I had systematically and meticulously erased him from my life. I had planned for our paths to never cross again, but fate, it seems, has a twisted sense of humor. The class reunion was a hazy affair, fueled by overpriced drinks and the suffocating pressure of feigned success. I was on my third whiskey, the amber liquid doing little to soothe the knot of anxiety in my stomach, when I saw him. He was standing across the crowded ballroom, a magnetic center of gravity in a sharp navy suit, laughing with a circle of our old classmates. Time had been exceptionally kind to him. He was the same Dominic, yet different €, more polished, more self-assured, as if he had finally grown into the effortless confidence he always possessed. The warm eyes were the same. The easy smile that could disarm a battalion was the same. It was a punch to the gut, a visceral reminder of everything I had spent 5 years trying to forget. Back in college, my crush on him wasn't just a crush, it was an all-consuming, terminal condition. I was a pathetic mess, scribbling his name in the margins of my notebooks and engineering chance encounters in the library. He was the sun, and I was a nameless planet caught in his orbit. He was always kind, infuriatingly so. He be the one to patiently my rambling essays at 2 in the morning, the one to gently push my third iced coffee away with a soft about my stomach. He was too good, too gentle, which only made his rejection burn that much hotter. I had confessed my feelings during a haze of drunken desperation our senior year. He hadn't laughed, hadn't recoiled. He had simply sighed, hoisted my pathetic frame onto his back, and carried me to my dorm. His only advice was to sleep it off. So I did. And then I did what any self-respecting, heartbroken fool would do. I ghosted him. Completely. 5 years of absolute radio silence. And I had intended to keep it that way. But there he was, a living, breathing specter from my past, and my feet felt like they were cemented to the floor. As the reunion began to wind down, I slipped outside, hoping the crisp night air would slice through the alcoholic fog in my head. I leaned against a cold stone pillar, the citier Eurostrade's hum a distant lullaby, and closed my eyes. When I opened them again, he was standing right in front of me. My heart performed a stupid, frantic somersault against my ribs. Still drinking like its finals weak, Fred. His voice was a low, familiar tease, laced with the same warmth that used to make my chest ache with an impossible longing. He was closer now than he strayed deep in all night, his tie loosened, his hands casually tucked into his pockets. He looked less like a phantom and more like a man, and that was infinitely more dangerous. Old habits, I managed to croak out, my voice rusty. I stared determinedly at the ground, unable to meet his gaze, but I could feel his eyes on me, steady and patient. "Stomach okay?" he asked, and I could hear the smile in his voice. He'd always remembered the little things. "Eater euros trade s fine," I shrugged, trying for an air of nonchalance I was nowhere near feeling. He took another step closer, the golden glow of a streetlight illuminating the sharp lines of his jaw and the surprising softness of his eyelashes. It was the kind of face that made you angry at yourself for noticing just how perfect it was. "You were quiet in there," he observed, his head tilted slightly. "Didn't even say hi." My throat felt like it was closing up. I could have lied, could have claimed I was caught up in conversation, but Dominic had always possessed an uncanny ability to see right through my flimsy defenses. "Didn't want to interrupt," I mumbled, my shoe scuffing at a loose pebble on the pavement. "You look at euros occupied." A soft chuckle escaped him, a low, intimate sound that felt like a physical blow. "Occupied, Fred, come on. It's been 5 years. You can't spare a hello for an old friend." Old friend. The words stung with an unexpected venom. I forced my lips into a smile that felt as fragile as spun glass. "Guess I'm just out of practice." He didn't euros trade to press the issue. Instead, he simply watched me for a long moment before pulling a pack of cigarettes from his suit pocket and offering one to me. "Still smoke when you're stressed?" I hesitated for a fraction of a second before taking it, our fingers brushing in a brief, electric touch that sent a buzz across my skin. "Only when I'm being stupid," I said, placing the cigarette between my lips. A smirk played on his mouth as he produced a lighter. The flame flickered to life, and he leaned in, so close I was enveloped in the faint, clean scent of cedar from his cologne. As the cigarette tip glowed red, his eyes met mine over the tiny flame, and for a heart-stopping moment, I completely forgot how to breathe. "You're not stupid," he said softly, pocketing the lighter. "Just stubborn." I exhaled a shaky plume of smoke, grateful for the distraction. "Takes one to know one," I shot back, and he laughed at euros, a genuine, unguarded sound this time. We stood in a comfortable silence for a while, the only sounds being the distant city traffic and our own breathing. I was hyper-aware of him, of the way he stood, the subtle tap of his fingers against his thigh. My brain was stuck on a single, repeating track: "He's here, he's here, he's here." Desperate to fill the void, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. "So, you and that girl from senior year euros, how's that going?" I regretted the words the instant they left my mouth. Why was I asking? Why did I possibly care? Dominic's hand stilled. "We broke up," he said, his voice suddenly flat. "Right after graduation. It didn't work out." "Oh," I nodded, pretending it was casual news, even as a strange, unwelcome relief washed over me. "Sorry to hear that. You guys seemed solid." He let out a short, almost bitter snort. "Seemed is the operative word." He flicked a bit of ash onto the ground, then his gaze sharpened on me. "What about you? Seeing anyone?" I nearly choked on my smoke, the question catching me completely off guard. "Nar," I said, probably a little too quickly. "Work's keeping me busy." "Busy," he echoed, and a knowing glint appeared in his eye. "You always did like to hide behind that excuse." I felt my defenses rise, but before I could retort, he pulled out his phone. "Here," he said, holding it out to me. A WhatsApp QR code glowed on the screen. "You deleted my number, didn't you? Let's fix that." My heart did another clumsy stumble. I had deleted his contact the day we graduated, a childish, dramatic gesture performed right in front of him as he stood there with his suitcase, about to leave my life. His only response had been a quiet, "Keep in touch." I hadn't. And now, here he was offering an olive branch, a digital bridge back to him, and I was terrified to take it. "Fred," he said, his voice softening, "it's just a chat. I'm not asking for your firstborn." I let out a shaky laugh in spite of myself. "Feels like it," I muttered, but I pulled out my own phone and scanned the code. A small ping, and his name materialized on my screen. Dominic. Just like that, 5 years of silence were erased. "See? Painless," he grinned, pocketing his phone with the air of a man who had just won a significant victory. "Don't ghost me again, okay?" "No promises," I said, aiming for a light, breezy tone, but my voice cracked on the last word. He noticed, of course he did, but he graciously didn't comment on it. He took a step back, raising his hands in a mock surrender. "Get some rest, Fred, and maybe lay off the whiskey." I rolled my eyes, dropping my cigarette and crushing it under my shoe. "Yes, Mom." He laughed again, that deep, warm sound that I could easily drown in if I let myself. As he walked away, I stood frozen, the phone feeling impossibly heavy in my hand. 5 years, and with one conversation, he had me tied in knots all over again. The first text arrived the next day. A simple invitation for dinner. I stared at the glowing screen, my thumb hovering over the keyboard, waging a silent war with itself. It had been a week since the reunion, and in that week, Dominic had been a Euros persistent, gentle but relentless. Texts about coffee, about a movie, a random message asking if I still liked some obscure indie band we Euros Trade D discovered together in college. Our Euros Trade D dodged every single one with a barrage of excuses. Work was insane. I was out of town for a client meeting. A deadline was looming. He never pushed, just replied with a cheerful, "Next time, then," which only made me feel like an even bigger coward. My mind kept drifting back to that drunken confession. The world spinning, the taste of vodka on my tongue as I grabbed his sleeve and slurred, "I'm into you." I remember the way he froze, the careful neutrality in his voice as he said, "Fred, you're drunk." And then the sensation of being lifted, his hands securely under my knees as he carried me back to my dorm. I remember burying my face in his jacket, the scent of clean laundry filling my senses as I mumbled, "You're too nice to everyone." He never answered, just gently placed me on my bed and draped a cool, damp towel over my forehead. "Sleep," he Euros Trade D said. "It'll be fine tomorrow." It wasn't fine. I had avoided him for the rest of the semester and then bolted from his life. And now, he was back, chipping away at my defenses one casual text at a time. I typed a quick reply, Euros sorry, swamped with a dead linear Euros, and hit send before I could second guess myself. His response was instantaneous. "You're killing me, Fred." "Coffee instead," I groaned and rubbed my temples. By Friday, I had successfully evaded him for a full week, a small, pathetic victory. That victory evaporated the moment I stepped out of the office elevator at 9 p.m. and saw him leaning against a pillar in the lobby, scrolling through his phone. He was dressed down in a crisp white button-up, the sleeves rolled up to his elbows, and on his wrist, my stomach plummeted. Euros he was wearing the watch. The cheap, scuffed leather watch I had given him for his birthday junior year. He had kept it. He looked up, his eyes meeting mine, and a slow grin spread across his face. "Finally free," he said, slipping his phone into his pocket. I clutched my laptop bag like it was a life raft. "What are you doing here?" "Ambushing you," he said, his charm as effortless as ever. "Figured you couldn't dodge me in person." He was already holding the glass door open for me. "Come on, Fred. It's just one dinner. I promise I don't bite." My brain screamed at me to run, but my traitorous body followed him out into the night. The bistro was quiet and intimate, a place I never would have chosen. He ordered a beer. I stuck to water, pointedly ignoring the amused arch of his eyebrow. I barely registered the menu, my attention fixed entirely on him. I found myself cataloging the little details of Euros, the way his fingers tapped a restless rhythm on the table, the crinkles that formed at the corners of his eyes when he talked about his new finance job. "So," he said, leaning forward, "how's the ad world treating you? Still pulling all-nighters?" "It's fine," I said, poking listlessly at my pastor. "Keeps me busy." "Busy," he repeated, a smirk playing on his lips. "That's been your favorite word lately." "Some of us have jobs, Dominic," I retorted, a little more sharply than I intended. He just laughed, completely unfazed. "Fair enough. But you've been avoiding me like I'm trying to serve you a subpoena." "What's going on?" "Nothing's going on," I snapped, my voice too quick, too defensive. His gaze sharpened, and I immediately looked away, a hot flush creeping up my neck. He let it slide, smoothly steering the conversation toward safer, more nostalgic territory. We talked about old professors, about the sticky flaws of campus bars, about the night we snuck into a lecture hall and projected a live feed of a meteor shower onto the giant screen. I found myself relaxing, even laughing as he perfectly mimicked the nasal drone of our old TA. For a fleeting moment, it was just like it used to be before Euros trade D-gun and shattered everything. And then, of course, he had to ruin it. "So," he said, his tone deceptively casual, "you dating anyone?" My fork froze midair. The smart, simple answer was no. But my stupid, proud brain decided to construct a lie. Yeah. Well, I was. Nice guy. It just didn't work out." His eyebrows shot up, and I could have sworn his smile faltered for a second. "Nice guy, huh? What was he like?" "Normal," I said, scrambling for details. "Funny, good at his job. You know Euros solid." "Solid," he repeated, leaning back in his chair with an unreadable expression. "Better than me?" I choked on my water. "What kind of question is that?" "A fair one," he said, his grin returning, but his eyes were sharp, probing. "Come on, Fred. Humor me." I forced a laugh, my palm starting to sweat. "Sure, let's go with that." The rest of the dinner was a stilted, polite affair. He walked me back to my apartment building, the silence between us heavy with unspoken things. I was fumbling for my keys, ready to make a quick escape, when he stopped me. "Fred," he said, his voice suddenly serious, "you weren't like this before. Before I fell for you. Before I confessed. Before I ran away. People change," I said, shrugging, my throat tight. He stepped closer, so close that the familiar scent of cedar wrapped around me again. Not that much, he murmured. You used to talk my ear off. Now I feel lucky if I get a full sentence. I wanted to lash out, to tell him that he didn't get to just waltz back into my life after 5 years and question my personality. But his eyes were so warm, so searching, and all my anger just deflated. I'm just tired, I mumbled, looking away. Long week. He nodded, but I knew he didn't believe me. Get some rest, then, he said. And maybe answer my texts once in a while. As I unlocked my door, I felt his gaze on my back, steady and unyielding. I didn't look back, but I knew with a sinking certainty that I wouldn't be deleting his number this time. A few days later, he texted about a movie, and I, having exhausted my repertoire of believable excuses, agreed to go. I was sprinting out of the office, late as usual, when I saw him waiting under a street lamp, looking impossibly put together in a dark sweater and jeans. I, on the other hand, was a mess of wrinkled linen and a fresh coffee stain. As I skidded to a halt, a cheerful voice called my name. It was Liam, the new intern, a beacon of youthful enthusiasm, jogging over with my forgotten notebook. You'd kill at pinball, he was saying, inviting me to an arcade bar with some of the junior staff over the weekend. You're like the copywriting wizard. I found myself laughing, genuinely smiling as he nudged my shoulder playfully before darting off. When I turned back to Dominic, his expression was completely blank, his jaw tight. Friend of yours? He asked, his voice devoid of any warmth. Just the intern, I said, a little confused by his tone. He's cool. Cool, Dominic echoed, the word clipped. He started walking towards the theater at a brisk pace, and I had to hurry to keep up. The movie was a complete blur. I was too distracted by the man sitting beside me, who was slouched in his seat with his arms crossed, staring at the screen as if it had personally insulted him. His mood was so palpably sour that I finally nudged him. You okay? Fine, he bit out, not looking at me. After the movie, I confronted him under the harsh glare of a streetlight. Seriously, what is your problem? You've been acting weird since we left the office. He finally looked at me, his eyes dark. That kid, he said, his voice low. You two seemed pretty chummy. I stared at him, bewildered. Liam, he's just friendly. He's barely out of college. Looked like more than friendly, he countered. You were all smiles with him, laughing. The absurdity of it almost made me laugh. Was he Euros jealous? What's that supposed to mean? I demanded. He stepped into my space, his voice dropping to an intense murmur. It means you were laughing with him, Fred, like you used to laugh with me. I haven't seen you look that relaxed in weeks. My breath hitched in my throat. He was right. I had been guarded, defensive, terrified of falling back into that old, familiar pattern of hopeless pining. Hearing him articulate it, his voice raw with something I couldn't quite name, made my chest ache. He saw the flicker of understanding in my eyes and stepped back, exhaling slowly. Come on, he said, his voice softer now. I'll walk you home. At my building, he surprised me by asking, mind if I come up? Could use a coffee. Every alarm bell in my head was screaming, but his eyes were so earnest, so pleading, that I heard myself say, sure. Inside my messy apartment, the air was thick with tension. As I fumbled with the instant coffee, I felt him move closer behind me. Fred, he began, his voice low. I didn't mean to snap. It's just Euros. Seeing you with him Euros, it threw me. I turned to face him, his eyes now soft and apologetic. My resolve, which had been so firm just moments ago, began to crumble like sand. It's fine, I lied. I handed him a mug, and as our fingers brushed, a jolt shot up my arm. This was a terrible idea. A very, very bad idea. And yet, the last thing in the world I wanted was for him to leave. And then came the night of the phone call, the night that changed everything. My phone buzzed on my nightstand at 1 in the morning, dragging me from a restless sleep. Dominic's name glowed on the screen. It was a call, not a text. My heart lurched. Fred. His voice was slurred, muffled by the clinking glasses and loud music of a bar. Can you come get me? I should have said no. I had been actively dodging him since our tense movie night, letting his texts go unanswered. I needed space, I needed distance. But his voice was so uncharacteristically vulnerable, and my willpower evaporated. Fine, I sighed, already pulling on a pair of jeans. Stay put. I found him slumped in a corner booth at a dive bar by the pier, his hair a mess, his tie askew. He looked up as I approached, and his face broke into a grin so wide and relieved it made my stomach flip. You came. Couldn't leave you to become a permanent fixture, I muttered, helping him to his feet. He was heavy against me, his arm slung around my shoulders, his warmth seeping through my jacket. He mumbled about work and his boss, but then he stopped dead on the sidewalk, turning to face me under a flickering streetlight. Fred, he said, his eyes glassy but strangely focused. Why are you avoiding me? I'm not, I lied weakly. You are, he insisted, swaying slightly. You're shutting me out again, just like you did in college. The accusation hung in the air between us, cold and sharp. His fingers found my wrist, his touch sending a familiar jolt through me. Missed you, you know, he murmured. All those years. He swayed again, and I had to grab him to keep him from falling, his body pressing flush against mine. The drive to his apartment was a silent, charged affair. Inside his sleek, minimalist apartment, I tried to deposit him on the couch, but he caught my wrist, pulling me down beside him. Stay, he whispered, his thumb stroking my skin in slow, deliberate circles. Why do you keep running? He asked, his face just inches from mine. Every time I get close, you bolt. Dominic, you're drunk, I said, but my voice was shaky. He shook his head, a small, stubborn gesture. Not that drunk, and thought euros strayed s when he kissed me. The soft, whiskey-flavored kiss that turned my world on its axis, followed by the devastating blow of his now were even comment. I scrambled to my feet, my face burning with a mixture of shock and humiliation. You're an ass, I muttered, grabbing my keys. Sleep it off. As I reached the door, he called out my name. Fred, don't disappear again. I fled without answering, his words chasing me all the way home. I collapsed onto my couch, the ghost of his lips still burning on mine. He was drunk, I told myself. It meant nothing, but my heart, that stupid, traitorous organ, knew it was a lie. A few days of agonizing silence later, I was dragging myself home from work when I saw him. He was standing under the streetlight outside my building, waiting. There was no escape this time. You've been hiding, he said, his voice quiet but firm. Because of the other night. You were drunk, I mumbled, staring at the pavement. It didn't mean anything. He stepped closer, the space between us crackling with energy. I wasn't that drunk, Fred. I knew exactly what I was doing. Why? I snapped, finally looking at him. Why do you keep messing with me? You think I'd kiss you for no reason? He asked, his voice low and intense. I've been trying to get through to you for weeks. You're the one who keeps putting up walls. He was right. I had been running, terrified of being hurt again. he sighed, the fight seeming to go out of him. Look, can we please just talk? Inside, in my apartment, the silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Finally, he broke it. I'm sorry, he said. Not for kissing you, but for how I did it. I didn't mean to scare you. He moved to stand behind me, his arms wrapping around my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder. His breath was warm against my neck. Because I haven't stopped thinking about you, he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. For 5 years, Fred. You just vanished, and it gutted me. When I saw you at the reunion of Euros, I knew I couldn't lose you again. My carefully constructed walls crumbled into dust. I turned in his arms, forcing myself to meet his gaze. His eyes were raw, vulnerable, holding nothing back. I can't do this halfway, Dominic, I whispered, my voice rough. Not with you. I'm not asking for halfway, he said, his grip tightening. I'm asking for a chance. A real one. He confessed that he strayed deep in an idiot in college, pressured by his family to find someone stable, and that he had regretted letting me walk away from the moment it happened. I want to be the guy you call at 2 a.m., he said, his voice earnest. The one you don't hide from. Just give me a shot to prove it. I stared at him, my heart hammering against my ribs, a wild, terrifying hope blooming in my chest. Okay, I said, my voice barely audible. A chance. A slow, brilliant smile spread across his face, and in that moment, the past 5 years of heartache seemed to fade away. Later that week, as he picked me up from a work dinner, his smile faltered as I got in the car. New cologne? He asked, his voice a little too casual. I sniffed my jacket sleeve. Oh no. The intern, Liam, spilled some wine on me. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Right. We drove in silence for a moment before he glanced over at me, his expression serious. Just €2, maybe don't let him get that close again. Yeah? My heart gave a strange little flutter at the undisguised possessiveness in his tone. Yeah, I agreed softly. Which brings me here, standing outside his apartment door, my finger hovering over the bell. After all the running, all the fear, all the misunderstandings, I was finally done hiding. I had texted him an hour ago, Euros, can we talk? A circumflex Euros, and now I was here, ready to lay my heart bare. But before I could even ring, the door swung open. He stood there, his hair still damp from a shower, a soft t-shirt clinging to his frame. He looked surprised, and then a slow, warm smile spread across his face, the kind of smile that made me feel like I was finally home. Fred, he said, his voice full of a gentle wonder. I stepped inside his apartment feeling more familiar, more right than my own. He leaned against the closed door, his eyes never leaving my face. So, he said softly, what's on your mind? I took a deep breath, the carefully rehearsed words I had prepared suddenly feeling inadequate. I was a mess in college, I began, my voice shaky, and I spent 5 years convinced that I was the only one who got hurt. I was so scared of feeling that way again that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. I finally met his gaze, my heart in my throat. I see it now, Dominic. I see you. He crossed the room in 3 long strides, his hands coming up to cup my face, his thumbs gently stroking my cheekbones. His eyes were shining with an emotion so deep, so profound, it stole my breath. I was an idiot, he murmured. A blind, stupid idiot for ever letting you go. We were both idiots, I whispered, a laugh bubbling up through the tears that were suddenly blurring my vision. He leaned in, his forehead resting against mine. No more running, he asked, his voice a hopeful prayer. No more running, I promised. And when he kissed me this time, there was no whiskey, no regret, no games. It was just us. A slow, deep, searing kiss that was 5 years in the making. It was a promise, a homecoming, a new beginning. It was finally ours. And Thutter Euros Trade S where our story truly begins. After 5 years of distance and weeks of dancing around each other, they finally found their way back. So, what do you think? Was Dominic's persistence romantic, or did it cross a line? Do you believe a second chance after so much time can truly work? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved following Fred and Dominic's journey, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.